And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to go through the power rankings that were released this week. I'll give you my thoughts on them, and that is what we will do here. So, 32 is the Panthers, no surprise there. Although they did put up 30 points this past week against the Packers, who aren't a good defense. But you know what? At least it's something, because this offense really has just struggled to put up points all year. And it's nice to see that Bryce Young had a good game. I mean, obviously, give them another year. Give him another year. Surround him with some more talent and see if he really is the guy. But very disappointing rookie season for him. 31, you got the Commanders. They did make things interesting against the Jets. I mean, they were down 20-0, 27-7. They came back. Jacoby Brissett's going to be the starter this week. But, Sam Howell was another guy where, he looked at him and said, hey, maybe the Commanders have something with him. But really has struggled in recent weeks. The Commanders just are a mess right now. Their defense is really bad. So, I mean, I don't know what the future is going to hold for him and the Commanders in general, but, yeah, they're at 31. You got the Cardinals at 30. Again, they struggled against the Bears on Sunday. I thought they would win a couple more, some more games with Kyler being back, but, yeah, I mean, it looks like they might not win, any of their remaining games. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they play the Eagles, which I think they'll probably lose. Seattle, I mean, they could win that, but I don't know. So they're probably going to finish with a 3-14 record. But yeah, they're at 30. Patriots at 29. Listen, they've been playing spoiler. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Broncos. So, at least they kind of showed a little bit of a pulse here towards the end of the year, winning some games. Now they got Buffalo coming up. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Buffalo is dealing with a lot of injuries on defense, and Patriots defense is still good, so they could definitely give the Bills some problems on Sunday. But yeah, they're at 29. 28's the Giants, 5-10. Hey, they were competitive against Philly in Philly. They surprised me, but again, they kind of benefited from some mistakes by the Eagles and the fact that the Eagles secondary is not very good this year. They were kind of gifted some of their points, but you know what? I have faith in Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. I think the Giants are going to be okay. But, it's just another disappointing year. And like I said, I mean, after week 1, I was like, yeah, this season's over. And yeah, I was pretty much right. So then you got the Chargers at 27. Hey, they were competitive against the Bills. So that goes to show you. You fire your head coach, and your team responds, and yeah, they did. They did, even though they lost. Now they got a chance to win a game against the Broncos with Jarrett Stidham starting. Titans at 26. Disappointing loss to the Seahawks. Ryan Tannehill started the game against the Seahawks. But yeah, they're 5-10 right now. They're in a rebuild. I mean, it's and we'll see what happens with Mike Vrabel. I mean, I think he sticks around, but yeah, I mean, the Titans, they are, not a very good team this year. The Jets at 25. Surprised they actually moved up a spot. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because they did win. But, I mean, they could have very easily lost that game against the Commanders. But they're lucky that they have a kicker in Greg Zuerlein that they could trust. And they were able to still win the game. But, the Jets, it's a season of what could have been if Aaron Rodgers doesn't get hurt. The Bears at 24 at 6-9. Yeah, I mean, they started off the season 0-4. They've gone 6-5 since. I mean, listen, Justin Fields isn't playing bad. The defense really has been, a huge part of the turnaround. They're forcing turnovers. I mean, the Montez Sweat trade has really paid off for them. Listen, good draft and maybe, add some more free agents. This team's going to be good next year, but we'll see. It really all depends on what they do at quarterback. Are they going to keep Justin Fields? Are they going to move off of him and go to a different quarterback? That remains to be seen. I think he's played okay. The Bears supposedly love, the locker room loves Justin Fields, so maybe, they continue to build around him and maybe draft Marvin Harrison Jr. It's possible, but we'll just have to wait and see. Saints at 23. They dropped the Thursday night game against the Rams. They're they have to beat the Bucs on Sunday, to keep pace in the NFC South. But the Bucs have been rolling, so it's going to be a really tough game. Broncos dropped down, 8 spots here. They're 7-8, and yeah, they're kind of just. I know we talked about them. They're still technically in it, but now starting Jared Stidham, you're basically punting on the season. But yeah, they're at 22. The Raiders jumped up a couple of spots to 21, winning an unlikely game in Arrowhead. And actually, it's kind of crazy. This is something I didn't say when talking about this game, but they did not complete a pass after the first quarter. That is unbelievable. They didn't complete a pass after the first quarter, and they still won the game. But they got helped out by the Chiefs with 2 defensive touchdowns. But you got to give them credit. And listen, I think Antonio Pierce deserves this job. I really do. And if they don't keep him around, they're making a mistake. Got the Falcons at 20. Impressive win against the Colts. I actually took the Falcons. They're still in it, but I think they're going to fall a little bit short. I mean, that's a team that's going to need a quarterback, and maybe they could trade for Justin Fields if the Bears move off of him. They can maybe sign Russell Wilson, or they're going to draft one. I mean, they have a lot of talent on this team. They just need a quarterback. So, 19, you got the Packers. I mean, they almost blew it against the Panthers. They're going to be playing against the Vikings, who are at 18. I don't know what the Vikings are going to do at quarterback on Sunday. But regardless, I mean, whoever they start is going to torch this Packers defense. The Packers defense is really bad. And they're going to be without Jair Alexander, who got suspended because of the whole thing with the coin toss at the beginning of the game. He wasn't supposed to be out there, but he went out there anyways. So, yeah. But listen, Jordan Love, he looks like the guy for the Packers. And for the Vikings, I mean, we'll see what they do. I mean, are they going to bring back Kirk Cousins? Coming off of the Achilles injury, we'll have to wait and see. Steelers at 17, impressive win against the Bengals. They shredded that defense, and that was the defense I started in my redraft league. And maybe if I didn't do that, I probably would have won because the Bengals defense ended up getting me negative 1 point. Negative 1 points. If I started any other defense, I probably would have won because I ended up losing by a point. And also I didn't start George Pickens in those leagues too that I was in the playoffs. So if I started him, I would have won both. But again, you have no idea that he was. You had no idea he was going to have the performance that he had. The Seahawks are at 16, 8-7. Big comeback win against the Titans. They got the Steelers this week. And then they got the Cardinals to finish out the year. So they could win their next 2 and maybe get into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there. Colts are at 15. Tough loss against the Falcons. I mean, they went down the field on their first drive, but after that they just really couldn't do much. So we'll see what happens this week. They're playing the Raiders, and then they play the Texans to finish out the year. So those are big games. You win those 2 and you're in. So. Then you got the Bengals slightly ahead of them, dropped down a couple of spots. Jake Browning kind of came back to reality against the Steelers. It doesn't get any easier. You're playing against the Chiefs in Arrowhead, but with the Chiefs and their struggles, and the Bengals, they played the Chiefs so many times. I mean, they're going to be without Burrow and probably Chase again, but I think they got a shot to maybe pull off the upset, maybe. But we'll see. Then you got the Jags at 13. I mean, that's another team that's struggling. We'll see if Trevor Lawrence ends up playing. Texans are at 12. They're most likely getting C.J. Stroud back, which is huge. That's a team that I like to get into the playoffs. Then you got the Rams at 11. They went up 5 spots. Yeah, I mean, I would put them ahead of the Bucs. Actually, they got the Bucs at 10. I actually would put the Rams ahead of them. But these are 2 teams that are playing really good football right now. Matthew Stafford and his offense, Baker Mayfield and his offense, those are 2 quarterbacks that have really, turned it up as we get closer to the playoffs. So they're at 11 and 10. You got the Chiefs all the way down at 9. I mean, I can't really disagree with that. Turning the ball over, Can't really get anything going on offense. I mean, it's a problem. It's a problem. And, yeah, you got to worry about them because usually they would figure it out. It doesn't seem like they're going to figure it out. And you got the playoffs coming up. I mean, this team might finish. I mean, they should be able to win their last 2 games against Jake Browning and Easton Stick. But, who knows? They couldn't beat Aiden O'Connell, who didn't complete a pass after the first quarter. So it's like, you don't know. But the problem is the Chiefs beat themselves in this game. I mean, they got to stop with some of these fake handoff plays and stuff. Just run your offense. I mean, the pick six, that's different. But the touchdown before that, I mean, you got Pacheco handing it off to Mahomes, and they fumble it on the exchange. I mean, what are we doing? They got to tone it down sometimes with that. But anyways, you got the Browns at 8. Can't disagree with that. Joe Flacco playing some good football. Turnovers, again, are an issue, but the Browns are still winning games. So as long as they're doing that, you'll live with it. The Bills are at 7. Listen, they went out, they're in, and they are going to be a very dangerous team if they get in, which I think they should. I mean, they're lucky they beat the Chargers, though. That was getting dicey. Now you got the Patriots at home, which could give you problems, but I still think the Bills are going to win that game. And then it's going to come down to them playing the Dolphins. So we'll see what happens there. Cowboys at 6. Yeah, can't complain there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird having them ranked over the Bills when the Bills destroyed them. But, I mean, I'm not going to complain about that too much. Actually, I would put the Cowboys over the Lions. But we'll see what happens this week when these two teams play against each other. Then you got the Eagles at 4. I mean, I would put the Cowboys and the Eagles ahead of the Lions, actually. I would switch these around a little bit. The Dolphins, I think, yeah, so between 3 through 6, I'd probably reorganize the teams. Because, I mean, even though the Dolphins did beat the Cowboys, so I'd probably rearrange. I'd probably put the Cowboys ahead of the Eagles and the Lions. Then you put the Dolphins at 3. Niners move down to 2. Ravens move up to 1. Can't complain with that. Because, I mean, the Ravens looked like the much better team against the Niners. But, again, it's one game. They're still the top 2 teams in the NFL. It's just the Ravens, on Monday they own the Niners. So yeah, those are the power rankings for this week. Some disagreements. I put the Cowboys ahead of the Eagles and the Lions, but we'll find out this weekend. With the Lions, how the Lions and the Cowboys match up against each other. So before we go to break again, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that link is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we come back from our second break of the show, we are going to talk about the current standings. We'll go over, where everything currently stands in both conferences. And that is what we'll do after our second break here. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.